What's going on, YouTube family? Welcome to Automotive Life. My name is Lucky, and today we're going to be talking about how you can actually make money in the car business. So I get asked all the time, Lucky, why are you trying to start a dealership right now? You know, we're going into a recession. We see inflation way out of control. We see interest rates going skyrocketing high. We see depreciating assets selling for more than what they ever had before in record history times. We've seen people way overpay for junky cars. We know there's going to be a repo apocalypse. We know that there's also going to be an auto loan crisis where it'll be very, very hard to get cars. Why in the hell would you open up a dealership? And all I have is one simple answer: exactly. Now, I opened up my dealership back in 2012, and this was one of the main reasons why I did it, is because we were going into an era where everybody was just pumping out money. You could pretty much go to any bank, any credit union, any dealership, sign your name, and drive away. Well, fast forward to 2010 through 2014, that was not the case. It was very, very hard to get you any type of financing when it comes to automobiles. A lot of people had good credit, but unfortunately they lost their houses due to whatever, and they weren't able to afford these cars. Well, they were actually able to afford them, but the banks would simply not approve them because of a few things. As the market collapsed, what banks do to offset their risk is they tighten up lending restrictions. So if you wanted to buy a car and let's say, you lost your house, automatically denied. You lost your other car, automatically denied. You lost your job, automatically denied. So all these people were automatically turned down that traditionally weren't bad people. And unfortunately, the market collapsed and bad things happened. Well, during this time, all these subprime companies jumped out of the woodworks. They were charging good people 22 to 29% interest, and they were selling loans like crazy. Fast forward to 2015, these companies kind of got a little bit too big for their britches, and they kept over lending. They got out of the subprime sector and started getting into the mid-prime and prime sector, and they started basically trying to outbid like Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Ally, and all these things basically culminated to buying a bunch of paper that really wasn't that good. Now, fast forward to today, the main reason why I'm opening up my actual dealership is because when all these things start to crumble and all these banks are losing their ass, because remember, shitty subprime banks were not only buying really bad customers, they were buying stuff at 150, 160% LTV, and then they were buying brand new cars at really low interest rates, so they're not making enough gross to offset their risk. And couple that with cars rapidly depreciating, not really worth what they're basically have loans for, and it all spells doom and gloom when it comes to these banks. Now, as all these banks start to get smacked with what's called deficiencies, the balance between what the customer owes and what they sell the car online, every time they get hundreds of thousands of dollars coming through, they're going to start tightening the restrictions by a few percentage points, which doesn't seem like much. But after you lose maybe $20, $30 million every single quarter, they're going to start wrapping it up and getting really, really tight with lending. And this is why I think that buy here, pay here is going to be the future. Now, if you don't know what buy here, pay here is, it's something that's very popular in the Midwest. You see a lot of smaller dealerships doing this. But back in the day, a lot of large franchise stores used to do buy here, pay here. Now, I know this has a negative mystique and people look down on buy here, pay here dealers, but I'm here to tell you that it's not that bad. Like I said, back in the day, if you would go to, let's say, Ohio and you bought a dealership or a car from a Chevy dealership and it was a big franchise store, 9 times out of 10, they would actually hold the paper in-house. They weren't only a dealership, but they were also a bank. And this is how dealerships made long-term money. They weren't worried about trying to rip you with a bunch of money up front. They were making a little bit of interest off you. They can give you a good deal on the price of the car and move it forward. Now, what changed this is banks seeing all the dealerships making money, and they're all about, how do I lend money to make more money? So they told dealers, well, you can only sell that for retail, and then you have to wait, 2, 3, 4 years to get your money out of it. Why don't you sell the deals to us? You'll get paid right away. And not only that, we'll give you 105%, 110%, 100% financed, so you can get all the money that you need today, and even the customer could finance more. And we'll give you the options to maybe add warranties, extra parts, any type of accessories. They want to buy a custom order kit. We'll do all these for you. So little by little, the automotive sector changed to, instead of really focusing on finance and selling cars, it went to strictly selling cars. And that's what leads us into today, where Every dealer, all they care about is what's called gross. How can they make the most amount of money in the short amount of time? Now, don't get me wrong, this is how dealers make money. Now, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I'll make anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500 on a car just to pack it enough where I can make money, move on and get to the other car. Now, don't get me wrong, I have made 5, 6, 7, 8 pounders on cars. When you hear 8 pounders, that means $8,000. But these things are very few and rare and kind of in between. But when it comes to franchise stores, that's kind of the name of the ticket. A lot of the stores that we do consulting for make anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000 per car. Now, I know a lot of people are thinking, well, God, Lucky, that's a lot of money. How can they do this? They're ripping off the people. You guys don't understand how expensive it is to be a dealer. Our insurance, our rent, personnel, commissions, tax liabilities, medical insurance, all this stuff, it is extremely expensive to be a dealer, not including our lines of credit, what we pay for fees, how often dealers unfortunately get sued. So there's a bunch of things wrong with this. But the reason why I'm deciding to open up is because as we watch to see these banks kind of pull away from funding, and you're going to see these big franchise stores not making the big chunks of money they were, and little by little it's going to go back to normal where the franchise stores don't want to mess with anybody with bad credit. They only want people with good credit that they can just come in, sign, and kick them out the door, and they won't be able to help people with bad credit. And it's going to be just like 2012 all over again. All these people that are going to be losing I don't think they're going to be losing their houses, but they're going to be selling them, but they're going to be over leveraged, maxed out of credit, maybe you get a car repo, late payments on their credit cards. All these things are going to tell banks not to lend to them. So traditionally, right now, you can still get a loan. So if I were you and you have bad credit, get a car now, because I promise you in 6 months, that shit's all going to change. You won't be able to get a car. But as these things start to roll out, it's going to leave a lot of openings for dealers like myself that'll be able to sell affordable cars, and unfortunately, we'll be at higher interest rates because you got to remember, it costs us money to borrow money. So I know when people hear, 15% to 25%, you're ripping people off, you're killing people. I'll give you a little secret. If I sell you a car, let's say it's a $10,000 car, and I charge you 29.99% interest for, 36 months. Everybody in their head's thinking, God, you're ripping me off, you're screwing me, blah, blah, blah. But in all reality, I think that's only maybe $2,000, $3,000 in interest. Now, if I sold you let's say a $40,000 car, you bought this is the most popular one. I always like to use Dodge Charger because this is like the car for people with shitty credit that you can get a new car store. They'll get you, let's say, a Charger at 15 to 18% at $30,000 to $40,000, and now you're paying anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000 in interest over 72 to 84 months. So even though you hear lower interest, you think in your mind, that's cheaper, they're not trying to screw me. It's the complete opposite. I had this fight all the time, especially with consumers, even with dealers. How could you sleep at night? You're charging people 20% interest. When I go out and borrow money from banks, they charge me. So if they know I'm a subprime dealer and I'm dealing to people doing buy here, pay here, they charge me anywhere from 5 to 10% for the money. So then I have to mark it up to 17 to 25%. So I'm living off of the difference. And like I said, people think that's not a lot of money or maybe it's too much money. It's just enough for my business to keep running, to keep getting cars out there. Now, the best thing is what I do is I like to sell cheap, affordable cars because I don't want to bury you in a $40,000 car that's going to take a massive depreciating hit. If I sell cars under 20 grand and you lose 20% of your value, you're talking maybe $1,000, $2,000 off your vehicle value. Where when you're buying these $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 cars and you're getting whacked with 20, 30% off your vehicle value, now you're upside down maybe $8,000 to $12,000 to $15,000 and you can't trade that car in. Where a lot of my cars, you can get ahead after a few months. And especially, I think probably 90% of my cars that I will be selling will be under $15,000. Now, I know this is not a sexy, glamorous business and I won't have really cool cars. And I'm sure once I open up my dealership, I'm going to get a lot of people asking me like, well, why don't I just sell nicer cars and get better customers? My whole goal is I want to help people that are going to be transitioning because trust me, there are going to be so many people out there with shit credit in the next 6 months. Every month, I'm seeing more and more repos come to market. I'm hearing more and more banks cry about deficiencies, late payments, skip tracing cars. They can't find them. They find them on Facebook, Craigslist. They're tearing apart, selling them. All these things basically hurt the banks, which they tighten up lending, and they screw up your credit, which hurts you, but you can't get another car. Now, most subprime banks, like I said, will not deal with you if you have any type of repo in the last 12 to 24 months. So even though people have this mentality, well, I'm just going to give back my car and I'll go buy another one. You can't. I'm telling you right now, banks are rewriting their information and their criteria for lending every single month. Now, they usually do this once a year to adjust for either inflation, maybe losses, or whatever profits and gains. They try to keep a happy balance of constantly moving up and down what their requirements are. But I'm telling you right now, it's all bad. They're losing money, they're losing customers, people are disappearing with cars. So all the banks care about is how do we protect our money? We're gonna raise the interest on the next guy. We're gonna make the requirements even harder. So you can have maybe even good credit, but you just started the job, but they may require, instead of 3 months now, they may require 6 months or 1 year. And the big thing that's affecting a lot of people is even though prices are going down in the car market, which is great, some banks are being very aggressive in shortening their terms. So if you're trying to get a used car, they want to get you at maybe 48 to 54 months, which is sometimes not enough. So even though it's a cheaper car, you maybe saved $3,000, $4,000 than 60 days ago, you're going to lose that when it comes to higher interest rate and shorter term because now it's not affordable. Customers can't make the monthly payments. And so now we're getting this dilemma where cheap, affordable cars are going to be gold. Now, my advice to you, if you're watching this and you want to get in the industry, or if you're currently a dealer, stop selling expensive cars. Quit trying to impress people that don't give a shit about you. Sell cheap cars. Every time I take these things to the auction, they sell. I think we sold like 18 of them last week. Anything under $8,000 is gold. I don't care if it's older cars, it's not pretty, it's not sexy, who gives a shit? Your ROI on cheap cars is much more. Now, I'll give you guys a few examples. I bought a 2014 Acura TSX. Front end was a little banged up. I paid $2,200 for it. I think I spent another $1,000 fixing up the front end. I sold it for $5,500 at the auction. Now, I told you guys about the Escalade my friend bought. He paid $80,000 for it at the auction, and then he retailed that thing for, I think, $83,000. So he risked $80,000 of his money to make $3,000, where I could risk $2,000, $3,000 and make $1,000 on each car. So just imagine if I took that $80,000 instead of buying that Escalade and bought a shitload of cheap cars. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And the turnover time is quick. When you buy these expensive cars, because you've seen, I don't know if you guys watched my channel from back in the day, I've bought Rolls Royces, McLarens, Bentleys, all these things wrecked, Aston Martins, Jaguars, Audis, all kinds of crazy stuff. And I fixed them up and I sold them. But the reason why I don't really show a lot of those on my channel is because it's bullshit. Yeah, I buy a $100,000 car, I spend $50,000 fixing it up, and I make $50,000, but I'm risking $150,000 to make $50,000. Now, I know some people are like, well, that's a great profit. I would do that all day long. But the time it takes for me to buy them, fix them, repair them, get the parts, clean them up, sell them, and get paid on them, it's months. It's never quick. Where these little cheap, shitty cars that you buy, that stuff is turn and burn, man. You just get it and get it out of there. So don't be afraid to switch up your business plan. Even if you're really like, well, I'm in a nice area, I got to sell nice cars, that's fine. I would highly recommend your last 2 rows of your lot, put all your cheap cars. The way I did my lot was all the expensive cars up front. And then as you went back, the cars got cheaper. Customers showed up and they're like, oh, I have bad credit. I have $1,000 down, blah, blah, blah. I would literally tell them, okay, well, the first 2 rows from my office you can get. You can't get anything up front. So we would literally tell them which rows to go to because those were the cars that they were financially able to afford. And I'm telling you, this is going to be the big thing that's going to change the car business. A lot of you dealers right now are living off your floor plans. You're not making the grosses you used to because you've held your cars for too long. You need to get in the habit of turning and burning. Remember, every 60 to 90 days, if that car doesn't sell, get rid of it. When I look at Car Gurus and I see the average days on market is over 60, that scares the hell out of me because that means that there's a lot of cars that are 90 to 120 days old on a car dealership lot. Now, I know for regular consumers, they won't understand what I'm talking about, but for dealers, that's like sacrilege. Like, you never do that. That is the worst business practices because you're accruing costs on a car that's basically going down in value. But the problem is the last 2 years, these dealers were taught, oh, you can't replace it, just keep it and ask for more money, ask for more money. So when you guys look on like Car Gurus or Auto Trader and you're like, well, Lucky, I don't see the dealers dropping their prices. What the hell's going on? That's one of the reasons why. It's because every single month they keep getting more and more costs on these used cars. So some dealers, believe it or not, financially can't afford to drop their car $2, $3, $4, $5,000 to compete with the one that's maybe next door at the dealership. Now, unfortunately, these dealers are going to hit a wall where they're going to have to do one or two things: either pay that car down, let it go, take a loss, or they're going to basically die on their hill and basically go bankrupt because their flooring companies, their lines of credit, are going to come in and they're going to be very, very aggressive. Now, if you're a dealer watching this and you've never been through a recession and you don't know how next gear and AFC acts, I'm telling you right now, once they smell blood in the water, they don't care if you've been the greatest guy, you've have $1 million, $2 million, $3 million line, and you've paid them every single month, never been late. As soon as they think that you're going to go bankrupt, trust me, they're going to start showing up instead of once a month. They're going to show up twice a month, 3 times a week, and then they're going to start bugging the shit out of you, asking for funding really quick. And if they get any bad feelings as these dealers start to go bankrupt and they're going away, because like I said, you can go all across the United States and you can see all these small dealers folding, and even some of these bigger auto groups, because the money's simply there. They were basically robbing Peter to pay Paul, using their flooring lines to float all of this. When these guys sense that in your town and there's 1 or 2 guys that go out, watch how fast they restrict you. You're going to sell 5 or 6 cars, and all of a sudden they're going to call you up. Oh yeah, your line is no longer $1 million. It's $775,000. You're like, well, I want to buy more cars to fill my lot. Sorry. Yeah, every time you sell a car, they're going to lower your line, and keep doing it until they feel comfortable, or if you don't have enough money to pay for them. So I know a lot of you guys haven't seen this type of the business or this part of the business, but I'm telling you, it's ugly. That's why if you do like buy here, pay here, cheap cars, you don't have to do it all at once. Just buy 1 or 2 cheap cars. Take like a $3,000 car, clean it up, sell it for $69.95 or $79.95, $2,000 down, payments of $100 a week, and just get that ball rolling. Try to do 1 or 2 of these things a month. And I promise you, after 6 to 7 months, when you're getting, $600, $700 every single week from these payments, you're gonna be like, wow, I could see the money snowballing up. Let me try to do 2 this week. Let me try to do 2 next week or 3 next week. And like I said, it will snowball really, really quickly. And then you'll realize, why am I giving a $2,000, $3,000 buy fee to a bank when I'll keep that money and make the interest, and I'll be able to sell the car for more than Kelley Blue Book. So that's another thing you guys haven't even thought about I haven't talked about is the banks actually charging more money for offsetting their losses at the auction. So when you're trying to sell a $20,000 car and they whack you with like a $3,500 buy fee, Westlake's the worst. I think every buy fee from Westlake is $3,000 and a 3-month recourse. So to get away from this, we want to start building our buy here, pay here portfolio now. But anyways, if you guys have any questions, reach out to me on Instagram at Lucky Lopez, or set up a phone call with me. I do consulting calls. This is something you guys need to take advantage of right now. If you guys have any questions or comments, please put them in the comment section below. I try to answer every single one for the first hour or 2. But once again, I'd love to thank you guys so much for watching. I got a great video coming up Monday. Unfortunately, I had to cancel the Ford video because there's more stuff going on with them. But I should find out next week, and I'll have a Ford video probably next Friday. But I hope you guys have an amazing weekend, and we'll see you soon.